Hey bakers, John Cannell from Crimping Kitchen here, and today we're making a classic blueberry pie, bursting with flavor, topped and cradled with a flaky butter crust, and it's just amazing. Look at this. It holds its shape, but it's delicious. Let's get started. I made a batch of my favorite all butter pie crust dough and let it chill overnight. You can click up here for the full how-to on that, or you can click the link in the description and it'll have all the details. But for now, we're gonna roll this out. When you take it out of the fridge, let it come a little bit closer to room temperature, otherwise you'll get a lot of cracking. Unwrap this sucker. Sprinkle liberally with flour all over the place. Spread it around. And now we're gonna roll out from the center. You can add more flour to your rolling pin if it's getting a little sticky. And it's imperative that you flour, 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 and move it around. I like to flip mine over. Flour, flour, everywhere flour. And because this pie will have a lattice top, I made a double batch of dough. You'll have a little bit left over, but you can bake that separately for a delicious snack or just keep it in the fridge for an emergency mini pie crust, whatever you want. If you do have cracks develop, just pinch them together. It's not a big deal. Don't worry if the dough is not totally round, it's really gonna be fine. Once you get to the desired thickness, a little bit more flour, and roll it onto your rolling pin. I find this is the best way to transfer dough, but you can quarter it, do whatever you want. Use your dough hover machine. Okay. Unroll that onto your pie. And now I like to lift and kind of jiggle it in there. I don't want to stretch the dough because I really think that if you do that, it's going to like kind of tense back up in baking and shrink. Now we can use a knife and just cut around. I'm going to use a giant knife because that's what's available. Don't worry about the edge because we're going to be hiding that with our lattice top. So just cut around the pie dish. Okay, all of this can be used up for decorations if we want later. This, I'm just going to tamp down, make sure it's all there, and pop this into the freezer to chill out while we work on our filling. For the filling, I have 5 cups of fresh blueberries. Look at these guys. You can use frozen blueberries if you want. You have to add in maybe like an extra half cup or so. All right, I really like some lemon to zing up all of my pies. I feel like it wakes them up. Apple pie, blueberry pie, strawberry, the works. Otherwise, all that sugar just feels a little bit dull, even if the blueberries have some zing to them. And they do, but it's not like lemon. To my blueberries, I'm gonna zest 1 lemon. Already, it's gorgeous. That yellow, the blue, amazing. Let's add in my, how many tablespoons is this? 1 tablespoon. 2, I don't know. Here. Let's make that 3 full tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm gonna add half a cup of sugar now. Get out there. 1/4 cup or 30 grams of cornstarch. This is our thickening agent, and it's really gonna help the pie not be a watery mess. Now we're gonna toss this up, toss those blueberries. This is like such a simple pie filling. Just move things around so all that sugar, cornstarch, lemon juice, and zest really mixes together and you have a nice uniform and wet, gloopy blueberry filling. Okay, that's great. Nice. All right, let's set that aside and then fill our pie crust. So pull that pie crust out of the freezer and just dump in those blueberries. You can spread them out a bit. And I like to make sure that all of that lemony thickening agent is kind of out of the bowl, into the filling, and spread around. Now just flatten it out. Just make sure you don't have any voids in the pie where there's like a gap in blueberries, because if that happens, when your lattice is baking up, it'll collapse and it won't look as pretty. It'll still be delicious though. This can go back into the fridge now just to keep chilled while we work on our lattice. I have batch number 2 of pie crust that I just started rolling out. Same deal as before. Keep it moving. That is the main thing with pie crust. You can't let it sit still, otherwise things get sticky and you get frustrated. This one I don't have super control over, but it would be great if it rolled out to a perfect square so I could cut nice, beautiful strips. I don't think that's gonna happen though. Feels like I'm making a very luxurious pizza. That's good. Any cracks can get pinched together. And right now we're gonna cut our strips. I'm gonna go for maybe an inch and change. If you want super thin strips, just be careful because they become harder to work with. If you look at those pretty, really beautiful pies on Instagram, the key is, how does it bake? You'll notice you see a lot of insanely gorgeous raw pies because they tend to fall apart during baking. Not all of your strips have to be the same size, by the way. So don't worry or panic if you have some thinner ones or thicker ones. Just say it was part of the plan all along. Before I add my lattice on, I'm gonna grate about 2 tablespoons of butter right onto this. It'll melt in there and make it really just that much more delicious. This is kind of optional though, you don't have to. So to make your lattice, you're going to arrange the first row. And you can have as much or as little gap as you want. It's really up to you. I tried to be really ambitious once and do a chevron pattern during a Facebook Live video, and it did not go well. I had to start from scratch because even though I knew what I was supposed to do, I totally lost track and it was kind of a disaster. Just to be totally honest. Okay. Now you're gonna lift up every other strip halfway through. 1, 2, 3. And place your lattice in there, nice and straight. Place back on. And then you're gonna repeat that process with the alternating strips. We're almost done with one side. Okay, so this is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. Do one little tiny strip here to finish it off. Our lattice is complete. Now we have to deal with the edge. Kind of up to you how to do this. I'm gonna trim my edges. I'm gonna place this into the fridge for a few minutes and see if I can do a braid. If I can't, we're just gonna crimp it, so bear with me. Okay, so I have my 3 strands. The problem is I'm horrible at braiding. Okay, but let's give it a try. Ideally, I would start in the middle, but I always lose track when I do that. So that's not gonna happen. Just moving them back and forth. Okay, so 1, 2. Oh, I'm getting it, and I know what the pattern is. It's gonna be like enough for a third. Anyways, that's what it would look like if I had the patience to do the rest of the braid, but I don't. I just don't. So I'm gonna push it to the side, and what we're gonna do now is crimp our pie dough together at the end so that it holds together. I'm using a knife to trim some of the overhang. This pie dish actually has a very narrow lip. Most of yours will have a bigger one for your crimping to rest on. You can take some of the excess and just smush it on for some extra hold. So now if you want, you can just give it a little bit of a crimp with your fingers, just for the smallest bit of detail, not like that braid. Just run around with 2 fingers on one side or a thumb and your index finger and your other index finger and just crimp, crimp, crimp. This will help everything stay glued together, and I think it gives it a nice, very homey, but wonderful finishing touch. We're gonna brush the entire surface with an egg wash. Mix 1 egg and a tablespoon of cream in a small bowl so it's a nice, even consistency, and we're gonna brush this on the top. The egg wash is gonna give it a glossy golden color and also act almost as a bit of glue to hold everything together. It'll seep into those corners of the lattice. And I like to use a smaller brush for this so it's a bit more precise and doesn't damage the pie crust. It's much easier to add an egg wash onto a chilled pie crust because it won't move around with your brush. You do want to try and hit every bit of the pie crust with the egg wash because in the absence of egg wash, it'll be very visible as a totally different color and texture. At the same time, you don't want to smother it in egg wash and have giant pools of egg. I'm going to finish this off with a sprinkling of sugar. I think it adds a nice little bit of crunch and sweetness to the top. You don't have to add it though. It's totally up to you. Okay. This is gonna bake for 20 minutes at 425. We're gonna lower the temperature down to like 375 and bake for an additional almost hour. So you don't want the edge to burn. That would blacken, the whole pie crust would be black on the outside. If that's happened to you, let me know in the comments. We can share our pie failures. So carefully wrap some tin foil around the edge. This will protect our pie during baking and let the center become nice and golden without burning the edge. You can check on it after like maybe an hour in total, and this maybe take the tenting off if it's not looking golden enough on the outside. Onto a baking sheet and into the oven. Oh, okay, I had to show you. It's very slippery, very slippery. The pie was bubbling, done golden brown. It baked for 20 minutes at 425, then 40 minutes for 375, after which I removed the tenting and cooked it for an additional like 10 to 15 minutes. I just watched it. When it was bubbling and golden brown, I knew it was ready. This is gonna be set aside until it is fully room temperature. I want to eat it all. Oh my gosh, it's hot. I forgot the pan is hot. Anyways, not gonna eat it, setting it aside gently. All the components tasted amazing raw. I can't imagine what it's gonna taste like cooked. Yes. I love the lemon in there. It has a lot of flavor. Oh my god, it's like secret lover. If you like this recipe, check out my apple hand pies. They are delicious, filled with caramel, and kind of addictive, so make them at your own risk. If you like my videos, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.